I spent years turning wrenches in base motor pools and another 2 decades doing it in my own shop. And the trucks I watched survive the worst abuse imaginable were almost never the expensive ones. A veteran walks into a dealership, gets steered toward a shiny lease return with a turbo 4-cylinder and a payment that eats half a disability check. And nobody tells him the truck that will actually last is sitting in the back row with dust on the hood and a price under $11,000. That is the truck I want you in. Not a payment, not a gamble. A workhorse you own outright. Let me walk you through 8 of them, and I will tell you exactly what to check on each one before you hand over $1. Start with the one I would put my own money on first. The first generation Toyota Tundra from 2000 to 2006 with the 4.7-liter V8. This is the 2UZFE engine, and if you spend any time around mechanics, you already know the reputation. It is a cast iron block V8 that Toyota deliberately understressed from the factory, meaning they built it with far more margin than it ever needs in daily use. That's the whole secret. It was never asked to make big horsepower, so it loafs along under its own capability and simply refuses to wear out. The same engine family powered the Land Cruiser, the Sequoia, and the Lexus GX and LX. Vehicles people pay a serious premium for, specifically because that V8 lasts. Documented examples have crossed 300,000 miles on nothing but maintenance, and a handful of well-known Tundras have passed 1 million miles on original internals. If there is exactly one thing you cannot ignore on these trucks, it is the timing belt. It is a belt, not a chain. And Toyota calls for replacement around every 90,000 miles along with the water pump, the tensioner, and the idler pulleys while you are in there. If the seller cannot show you that has been done and the truck is past 90,000 miles, that is not a reason to walk away. It is a reason to knock $1,000 off the price and book the service the day you get home. While you are inspecting one, check the exhaust manifolds, because these Toyota V8 engines are known to develop cracked manifolds that tick on cold startup. And look closely at the frame underneath, since rust is the real enemy on the older ones. A clean, older Tundra with high but honest miles routinely sells in the $8,000 to $11,000 range. And for a body-on-frame Toyota 5.8 with that kind of track record, that is a deal almost nobody is talking about. Number 2 is the Toyota Tacoma with the 4.0-liter V6, roughly the 2005 to 2011 second generation. The Tacoma's reputation isn't marketing. It's earned in the dirt and on the job site. These trucks are famous for running well past 200,000 miles, and plenty of owners share honest stories of crossing 300,000 miles with the original engine and transmission still bolted in. The 4.0-liter V6 uses a timing chain, so there is no belt service hanging over your head. Properly equipped, it will tow around 6,400 pounds, which is plenty for a utility trailer, a small boat, or a bed full of materials. The trade-off is honest. A Tacoma costs more used than almost anything else its size because everyone already knows it lasts. And that demand keeps prices stubbornly high. Under $11,000, you are looking at higher mileage examples or the less loaded trims. But even a high mileage Tacoma with a clean frame is a smarter long-term bet than a cheaper truck with a question mark under the hood. And speaking of the frame, that is your single biggest inspection priority on this truck. Toyota issued frame rust recalls on these, so get a flashlight, crawl underneath, run your hand along the frame rails looking for heavy scaling or flaking, and confirm any recall work was actually completed. A truck that has already had a replacement frame is a gift, not a red flag. Also test the lower ball joints, which are a known wear item, and listen for any clunking over bumps at low speed. A solid frame on a Tacoma is the closest thing to a guarantee you will find anywhere in this price range. Third on the list, and this is where the math swings hard in your favor, is the Chevrolet Silverado 1500, or its mechanical twin, the GMC Sierra 1500, with the 5.3-liter Vortec V8. Roughly from 2007 to 2013, the 5.3 is built on General Motors' LS architecture, and the LS is one of the most proven engine designs in automotive history. It is a pushrod V8, which means fewer moving parts than any overhead cam engine, no complicated timing setup stretched across multiple camshafts, and an aftermarket so massive that parts are cheap and available on every corner. A water pump, an alternator, a starter, a set of brakes. None of it costs what the equivalent would on an import, and any competent shop can service one in their sleep. There is one honest thing to know going in. Some of these years used a cylinder deactivation system called active fuel management, and on certain trucks that system is associated with higher oil consumption and lifter trouble down the road. It is a well understood issue. It can be addressed, and a truck that already had it addressed, or that simply uses a little oil between changes, is not automatically a deal breaker. When you inspect one, pull the oil cap and look for sludge, which tells you whether the previous owner ran cheap oil on stretched intervals. Watch for a shudder in the transmission between 40 and 60 miles per hour, which a fluid and filter service often cures. Inspect the rocker panels and wheel wells hard for rust if it came from a salt state, because on these trucks the body gives out long before the engine does. Do all that, and you have a full-size V8 with documented 500,000-mile examples on the road for well under your budget. Number 4 is the Ford F-150, and here you want to be a little choosy about which engine is under the hood. For this price range, the truck to find is one with the 4.6-liter, or if you can get it, the 5-liter V8 from 2009 to 2014 generation, or the older 4.6 in the trucks before that. These are naturally aspirated, with no turbos to fail and no charge pipes to crack. And they are the engines that built the F-150's work truck reputation across millions of units sold. The reason I steer you toward the V8s rather than the turbocharged EcoBoost at this budget is simple, and it is about risk, not snobbery. The EcoBoost is an excellent engine when it has been maintained, but a cheap high-mileage example with unknown history carries more downside than a veteran on a fixed budget needs to take on. A V8 F-150 keeps it simple. Parts are the cheapest of any truck on this entire list because Ford built so many of them, and the 2015 and up trucks switched to an aluminum body that resists rust better than anything that came before. At $11,000, you will be in higher mileage territory on the newer trucks, so prioritize a clean maintenance record and a truck that was not worked to its towing limit every single day of its life. Check the spark plugs and coil packs on the 5.4-liter. If you stumble onto one, look for any sign of frame or bed rust on the steel body years, and make sure the four-wheel drive engages cleanly without grinding. 5th, the Nissan Frontier with the 4.0-liter VQ40DE V6. The 2005 to roughly 2019 second generation that barely changed in all those years. And that is exactly what makes it such a smart buy. When a manufacturer leaves an engine basically untouched for 15 years, it is because they got it right the first time. And the parts supply runs deep and cheap. The VQ V6 family has been in Nissan since the mid-90s, and the 4.0 is a strong, torquey motor that routinely sees 200,000 miles plus when it is looked after. It uses timing chains rather than a belt, so there is no scheduled belt service to budget for. But those chains do have known wear points, so listen carefully for a rattle on cold startup. If you hear that telltale rattle, that is either your negotiating leverage or your reason to keep looking, depending on how the rest of the truck checks out. Also watch for cracked exhaust manifolds, which the VQ is prone to, and a slightly rough idle that some owners report, which is usually nothing serious. The Frontier is the bargain of the mid-size world precisely because it does not carry the Tacoma's hype tax, which means your dollar stretches a lot further on the same fundamental kind of durability. For a veteran who wants a no-frills, mechanically honest truck that just runs, this is one of the best values in the entire used market, and almost nobody puts it on a list like this. Number 6 is the Ram 1500. The version to hunt is one with the 4.7-liter V8, or the legendary 5.7-liter Hemi. From 2009 onward, the 4th generation truck. The Hemi gives you real power and a sound that turns heads, and it is a proven engine when it has been maintained with regular oil changes at the proper interval. But the Ram's real strong suit is comfort, and that matters more than people admit. These trucks ride better than almost anything else in their class because a coil spring rear suspension soaks up bumps that a leaf spring truck just pounds through. If you have a bad back, a bad knee, or you spend hours behind the wheel, that ride quality is worth real money. The honest caution here is maintenance history, because the Hemi rewards consistent oil changes and punishes neglect harder than the Toyotas do. So service records matter more on this truck than almost any other on the list. Pull the dipstick, check the oil condition, and if the seller cannot tell you anything about how it was serviced, treat that as a warning. Avoid the smaller 3.7-liter V6 if you plan to tow or haul anything meaningful, because it is genuinely underpowered for a truck this size and you will be wringing its neck constantly. Find a well-kept V8 Ram with a clean history and you have a comfortable, capable, full-size truck for the price of a tired economy car. 7th, and this one's for the veteran who does not need a full-size beast. The Ford Ranger from the late 90s through 2011 with the 4.0-liter V6. The old Ranger is one of the most quietly durable trucks America ever built, with plenty of examples sailing past 300,000 miles. It is small, it is simple, it is cheap to insure, cheap to fuel, and cheap to fix. And that combination makes it the perfect second vehicle, light-duty work truck, or daily driver for someone who just needs a reliable bed on four wheels and nothing fancy. The 4.0-liter V6 has a couple of things to watch, including timing chain chatter on high-mileage examples and a transmission that genuinely appreciates regular fluid service. So listen on startup and check that fluid before you buy. But the parts are dirt cheap, and these trucks are absolutely everywhere, which means you will find one well under $11,000 with plenty of life still in it. Do not make the mistake of overlooking the small truck just because it does not fill up a parking space. For a lot of veterans, a paid-off Ranger that sips fuel and never brakes is exactly the right answer. Number 8. The Honda Ridgeline, the first generation from 2006 to 2014. I know some truck purists will roll their eyes at this, but hear me out, because this one is a genuinely smart buy for the right person. The Ridgeline uses Honda's J-Series 3.5-liter V6, one of the most reliable 6-cylinders ever built. The same engine family found in the Pilot and the Odyssey. It won't tow like a Tundra, and it's not a rock crawler, but for hauling, daily driving, and pulling the occasional trailer, it's about as close to bulletproof as a truck gets. It rides like a car, and it has clever tricks like a lockable weatherproof trunk built into the bed. Maintenance is straightforward, and Honda parts are reasonable. The one thing to know is that the J-Series uses a timing belt that needs replacement around 100,000 miles. So ask whether that has been done. If it has, that is another long stretch of worry-free driving you are inheriting at no extra cost. Check the differential fluid on the all-wheel drive system and make sure the records show it has been serviced, since that fluid is easy for a lazy owner to skip. For a veteran who wants truck utility without truck headaches, the Ridgeline is the one nobody expects to see on a list like this, and that is exactly why it is such quiet, overlooked value. So there's your 8. The first generation Tundra and the Tacoma, if you want the absolute longest lasting Toyotas your money can buy. The Silverado, the Sierra, and the F-150, if you want a cheap to maintain American V8 with parts on every corner. The Frontier and the Ranger, if you want overlooked durability that stretches your dollar further than anything with a Toyota badge. The Ram, if you want comfort and power in equal measure. And the Ridgeline, if you want truck utility wrapped in car-like reliability. Every single one of these can be found under $11,000, and every one of them will outwork and outlast the overpriced lease returns the dealer wants to push on you the second you walk through the door. You served your country. You do not need to overpay to get a truck you can trust. If this kind of straight talk helps you shop smarter, hit that subscribe button, because I've got more videos coming on the trucks worth owning versus the ones that will quietly bleed you dry. Drive safe, take care of it, and it'll take care of you. I'll see you in the next one.